So in this video, I want to help you get an idea about some tips and tricks to get the most out of using the library database searches. So I want to talk about 4 things that we need to remember as we are doing our research. I'm going to go over each of these 4. And as I do, I'm going to bring us to the library website and show us an example and practice through it a little. Okay. So the first thing to remember is that when we are searching for a topic, we want to start out really broadly. We want to think about, well, okay, I'm not going to find the perfect thing right away. So I want to start out very basic and see what's available, and then notice some things that help me narrow my search to be more specific to the thing that I am looking for. So usually when we're writing academic papers, one of the temptations is to have a really broad topic so that there's lots of things to pick from and we can write a lot. But professors usually recognize that that is not the best strategy for showing you know something, because you know lots of details about lots of things, but not very much about any one of them. So usually with papers, we want to narrow our focus. We want to be more specific. So as we search, as we start our search, we want to start with 2 or 3 keywords. And then as we look at the results, we're going to notice some things. We're going to notice what the keywords are in those search results that, like, oh, that's interesting. I should add that to my search and be more specific, narrow it down. And we should look at what sources and databases are the best sources coming from. So when I say best, what I mean is best for you, best for us. What is the thing that we are looking for? So let's look at that. I'm going to pull up my my LIRN. Remember, I was on the library website on My Nightingale, and I clicked on Learn to get here. It logged me in, and I'm going to go to ProQuest Central. Okay. Now, you see here, it pops up. Perfect. I'm going to search for something, and I work in the Writing Center, so it's always interesting for me to research writing. Maybe not for you, but you'll look for something specific. So I'm going to search for writing. I'm interested in writing and nursing. So if I just write those 2 things, writing, nursing, I can go ahead and click and see what's available. So when we talk about wanting to narrow our results, we also mean we want to narrow down what we have to look through. As I am researching, there's no way I can look at 529,000 different articles. And probably that's not exactly what I want, right? So I know I want to write about nursing and about writing, so we can start with that. There's one quick way to go ahead and narrow it down, which is to use this limiter of full text and peer reviewed. Let's click both of those. There we go. And we see, okay, I'm already down to 163,000. So now what I want to do is I want to look at the titles of the different articles that I'm finding. And as I find one that interests me, okay, I'm interested in Writing Right, a workshop approach on improving nursing students' writings. Okay, So workshop is interesting. Students, I could add students to make sure that I'm focusing on that. I'm going to go ahead and click the title of this. And ProQuest is awesome because it will go ahead and say, hey, if you like this one a lot, I've got some other resources for you to look at as well. But we can scroll down. What I want to point out, no matter what database you are using, is that as we look at these, if you'll go in the description and you'll see the details, you'll see some other keywords here. This is helpful for two reasons. One, it gives me a quick idea specifically about what this article is about. Gives me an idea too for other things I could add to my search. So I see nursing education, writing, students. This is good. Identifier keywords are also a good place to find some ideas. So if I want to use those as my specifics, so I'm going to have writing and nursing students. Let's go ahead and do that. And education. Now you see I've used and here, so it should have to bring up all of those. Let's see. I got much smaller, 13,000, and I can get more specific again as I go. Knowledge and attitude. Oh, maybe I'm interested in that. Oh, medical writing skills in the English language. Interesting. Good. Right. So I see it's getting narrower and narrower as it goes. This will work with any database. I showed it on ProQuest, but this is a good place to start. Okay. So my second principle, my second thing to remember is that when we are searching, we want to look for the answer and not the question. So maybe you are like me, and when you have a question, you go in and you type it into Google. How to get an A on a writing assignment in nursing school. Okay. Now I can see I get details here. And this might be a good way to find the answer to your question, but only on Google. When we are using databases, those databases aren't set up to answer questions. They're set up to search specifically for these details. So we want to focus on having those keywords, knowing the answer that we're looking for rather than the question. So if we think about backwards, what we want to be able to do is thinking about the answer instead of the question. In this case, so one way to get an A is getting feedback from the Writing Center. So let's see, Writing Center feedback and nursing education. When I look here, I can see I've got some real details about feedback, Writing Center feedback and nursing education and high performing. Let's see if that brings me something. It does. Good. All right. So we can see this is even more specific to the ideas that I'm looking for. And I can find these articles might have more specific facts that will help me as I understand how to get an A in my writing assignments. For my third principle to remind us about when we are searching is that it can be a good thing if many of your sources say the same sort of thing. A lot of learners are thinking, oh no, all of my sources kind of say the same thing. So which one should I pick to cite? But don't worry about that, cite them all. So usually the more sources there are, the better. If they have similar information, that means you get to pick and choose the different parts that you can synthesize together, that you can combine. Citing from multiple sources, many that might say the same thing, will actually strengthen your argument. It makes it more credible to support. Now, we want to be strategic with our research time, though. We want to find sources that maybe say some of the same things, but that we can use more than once in our assignment. So yes, we want sources that have a lot of variety in them. And we want to have our paper have many different resources cited in them. But it's kind of not the best use of our time in researching and reading through sources if we go look for a source only for this one thing, we pull it out, we cite it in our paper, and then, oh well, I'm done with that source. So as you are looking at your articles, think about how you can use them for more than one thing. Okay, and for this one, let's go to Google Scholar. And look there. So Google Scholar is like Google, but will bring us up articles. Usually that are from academic journals. Also dissertations can be there, and we can search there. You can see what I've been looking at. And I'm going to look here. Ooh, the hidden curriculum, that's interesting. So at the same time, I can also limit my search here. Let's say since 2020. This one, I cannot limit my search to only full text, but I can see over here on the side if it has a link to the full text, whether a PDF or whether it's online. Any of these, if I'm interested in them, I might have to go onto our library and see if they're available to us or request an interlibrary loan. This one's really interesting. Oh, I see. Read the full text. I bet it's going to ask me to buy it. It is. Okay. So we can try and log in through our library. I know for a fact that we don't have this one. So I could request it through interlibrary loans. Or I could check it out the abstract. But what I want to warn you against is just citing details from the abstract, because that will be less strong. Yes, it gives us an idea, but we should be looking for details within the full text that we want to cite. This just gives a general idea, and we want more specific details, especially if we're quoting. But in this one, I can see like, oh, they're looking at 2 Canadian baccalaureate projects. Okay, so hyperfocus, oh, interesting. Okay, so this one talked about what the teacher wanted versus what they should be doing with the writing. So maybe I would cite something about this in my paper if I find that in the full text. And then later in the paper, maybe I want to talk about this idea about different people having different experiences with writing. So with this idea of unequal social conditions for different students. And then I could have different parts talk about, I could use the source in different parts of my paper. So it's okay if many sources say the same sort of thing, but we want to be able to use a source more than once. So we can use many sources for one thing, but we want to use one source for many things as well. That's our goal. Okay. So my last principle for us to remember is that as you are searching, you might not find exactly what you're looking for. So it should be that you build your paper, your research, from multiple different sources, which means it's a good thing if there's not a paper that says exactly what you want to say. It's actually a good sign, because if there's one paper that already says exactly what you want to say, then why are you researching it? You should make your topic more focused, or think about how you would want to combine from many different sources in order to say what you want to say. So thinking about my example, oh no, I lost my window. Thinking about my example, I really lost it. But I can go back to learn. Feedback. I don't remember all of the things I was searching for. Let's say the had like workshop. I like that one. Oh, that's cool. Okay, even better. So thinking about my example, I have these two different sources. One of them is talking about students' ideas and feelings about the hidden curriculum, about trying to figure out what teachers want. And then this one is about this idea of transcultural, so learners using their culture and the school's culture in order to support their students. So I can use both of these. So some of this information might be similar, right? We might see that these people from these other backgrounds or different backgrounds might have different experiences. And in this one, I can have this information about how nursing schools can help them. I can bring that together to make up my own argument that uses both of these as support. So those are the 4 things for us to remember as we are doing our research, that we want to find good sources, but maybe not the best one, maybe not the perfect one. It's good for us to use many different sources. As we search, we should look for the answer and not type in the questions that we want to answer. With our academic search databases, writing the answer we hope to find is better. But what if we don't know the answer? Well, start really broadly, think about just 2 or 3 keywords. And as you look at those, notice and think more specifically how you want to answer that question. Okay. So these are our 4 ways, to guide our research as we do it. As we go through the databases on LIRN, Learn, and Google Scholar. I hope this has been helpful for you, and we will be talking about how to judge a source next.